This is Jennifer Hale, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And, I should go.
The tangents at Squee continue all the way to episode 174 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. We are the library. It lives and breathes inside each and every one of us. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week. We'll go to the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello everyone.
Hi.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes,
happy Valentine's Day.
As we're recording this. It is Valentine's
Happy Tethering Day, depending on how you want to look
or
at it.
Ash Wednesday, depending on, Happy 4 days before my birthday. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, Rachel. Yes, early.
I would say you've got 4 days left to buy me a present, but pretty much anybody that would give me a present already has. So I guess you're off the hook.
Indeed.
Good for you. Good for me. Yay. Anyway, we have got a lot of news. So
We do.
we are going to jump straight into it. First with some convention news and Salt Lake still adding to to list slowly
They
but
added
surely.
some just today too, so we'll throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
Holy cow, guys!
Yeah.
But they have announced that Mark Shepard, who's been on pretty much everything you've ever watched, is going to be there.
Yep.
And if you are not aware of who this is, because I told Jared and he's like, who? He's Badger in Firefly. He's Kent in Delaware in Doctor Who. He was in Matt's.
Yep, he was Sterling in Leverage, Crowley in Supernatural.
Yeah, the Supernatural kids were all, oh my gosh, there he is. And so it's like, so if you've seen it, he's probably been in it. So
Yes, that one meme you've seen, if you go, oh, hey, it's that guy, yeah, that'd be him.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Probably
I
Mark
don't know
Shepard.
which one, but he was in one of the Star Trek shows. Forgot which one though. I know he was in one of them.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he has been.
Mm-hmm. Then he was in one episode of the X-Files.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those guys. He gets around to all the shows
Mm-hmm.
in one way or another. So
Mhm.
he's coming. And then just today, we don't have it in the show notes, but I just saw it today. For those big Disney fans out there, the original Belle and the Beast, Paige O'Hara and Robbie
Rob
Benson
Benson.
were just announced today as well. And that news even made the local paper. I was at work today. I was checking the news, our local newspaper here, and that was there on the entertainment section. I'm just like, of course they did. We had Ariel and Prince Eric last time. This time we have Belle and the Beast.
Mhm.
So that's exciting.
Yep. That's it is. So, let's see. And in OG, we're so surprised. Not really.
Let me show you my shocked face.
Yes.
Yeah.
So allow me to quote Iago. I think I may go ahead and die from that surprise.
We kind of speculated on this one.
Yeah.
When we talked about the season 6 ender
Yeah.
and
So
season 7 opener.
pretty much all of this current season. So, but
Yeah.
officially, and I don't take this the wrong way, anyone, but finally,
Yeah. Yeah.
Once upon a
We
time.
watched the first half of 7. I mean, it's decent.
Yeah,
but
but
we could have.
yeah, but finally, Once Upon a Time is being put out of its misery. It has been canceled, so.
And we mean this in the sincerest
Yes.
love.
it needed to go.
We'll miss the characters, we'll miss the cast, but yeah, it was...
Yeah. And the casts that are on the social medias have been fabulous, posting, their memory.
Some of the former ones, too.
Yeah, it's even ones that haven't been on the show, like Sean McGuire has posted things, so... but, yeah, so you can tell that there's a lot of love there for what they've done, but, yeah, it's... After this season, it is done. Thank goodness. So,
yeah, I mean,
let's just hope the direction that they're headed, that it ties up neatly enough. So
and I'm sure it will. I mean, it tied up neatly enough last season.
Yeah.
I still do like the show, and I loved what they did before. But it's kind of like. Some things just last a little too long, and it just needed to have bowed out gracefully already. I mean, they've done really great storytelling and great acting and great characters and all this stuff, but sometimes you just you have a show that you kind of it's time to be over. That's all. We still love it. I still want to go back and rewatch the episodes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. So.
And at least ABC gave them enough time, so if they did have kind of loose ends, they're able to fix them, so it makes a nice cohesive end, which is good.
Although Adam and Eddie there's some posts or interviews or some things, they kind of sounded like they knew it was coming, so they seemed like they were preparing for it. But then if it did keep going, they could put something together. But it sounded like this was not unexpected. I mean, they sound like us. We're like, oh, we're so surprised.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like they were, with the storytelling, that they were satisfied and they were ready to be done and move on to.
Move on to something else.
Because, I mean, look how many years they put in on Lost. I don't know how much time they had off, and then boom. Amount of time. And
yeah, I'm sure they've got other ideas for other things. So they're not done, and none of these actors are done with.
No,
they'll be on other things. So.
Yep. Yeah, because I think Josh Dallas has got a pilot going to be starting soon.
Yeah, I saw that on his Instagram, and it was on NBC, and I can't remember the title of it, but I was like, oh, well, see, there you go.
Yep.
They're still all up to their antics.
And who knows, maybe down the road, not in like official reunion, but in other shows. Like, I've watched plenty of shows that have actors from reunite and they make jokes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Castle, when that was going on, they made a lot of Firefly jokes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Adam Baldwin showing up.
Adam Baldwin was in it. Was Ron Glass in an episode, or was somebody else?
I think so.
Of Castle.
I think
Gina Torres.
Yep.
Yeah, I know a bunch of Firefly people showed up in Castle a couple of times. So yeah, they still do things like that.
Yep. Yeah. Nathan Fillion got to punch out Adam Baldwin's character.
That was such a fun episode.
It was. Yes.
Anyway, Once Upon a Time, so long, and thanks for all the memories.
Yes.
And the fish.
Yes. You were reading my mind there, Christine. If you were going to say it, I was. I saw what you did there.
I try. And I'm sure we'll find another show to recap every season.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things out there. Anyway. And we still have at least one more episode or at least one more podcast episode of discussion for it. So
yes. We do. Yeah. So. Yep.
Watch this space.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how they potentially tie things up, because they're still filming. So it's not like, you know, they were filming, the season's already done filming, and then they find out that it's done. They're still filming, so.
Yeah, that was Lana Parrilla even directed one episode coming up towards the tail end of the season.
Yep.
This season, it kind of feels like it feels like, you know, in high school they have the joke, you know, you have senioritis when you don't want to do anything, or they let the seniors get away with everything because they're gonna graduate soon. So it kind of feels like, Lana got to direct and all that kind of stuff, and they're just kind of having fun until it's over.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to some teasers and some trailers. First is the... I don't know what to think of this, but the teaser for the Venom movie starring Tom Hardy, which comes out later this year. And if you had if I had known and you had just shown me that without like the, you know, the little title card at the end and shown just the teaser, I would have been like, this is some sort of like psychological thriller type movie.
Yes.
If you told me no, it's a Marvel comic book movie, I would have been like, really?
Yeah, well, it kind of feels like the non-MCU movies, because they're doing this with the New Mutants, or they have done it. I don't know if it's out yet.
No.
Where it's more of a horror movie. But I mean, you watch that trailer, and I'm like, this is a horror movie. This isn't. And then you see the title card.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's a thing. So it kind of feels like Fox and Sony are trying to be a little tricky with it, I guess. I don't know.
I guess it's like we're gonna make this different enough because it's not part of the MCU that you know. There's no confusion, but it's like
dark and gritty.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, dark and gritty is fine, but I mean, Venom is a well-known comic book character, and there's no Venom in the teaser. It's just.
Yeah. I have no idea. I think maybe it's like you said, they want to set themselves apart from Marvel. And like, we're not. Because there's so many superhero movies and comic book movies now.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we got to do something different because, you know, people are starting to lose interest or whatever their mindset is. Which I guess over time, people with oversaturation. But it's like there's a lot of fans of this character. Why are you trying to? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. Or maybe they're trying to keep like the suit, you know, under wraps as long as possible.
That could be.
So.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they did that with Spider-Man in Civil War. It's like we knew he was coming, but you know, it was several trailers before we saw Spider-Man. And I thought we weren't going to see him at all until the movie dropped. So maybe it's the same thing. It's like, well, really, you know, the suit is a big deal. Anything in the Spider-Verse, the suit is a big deal. So it's like, we'll keep this under wraps as long as possible to keep people wanting, I guess. Although that doesn't help the cosplayers at all. But
oh no! Well, you know, cosplayers are so good. Like the minute that it's revealed, there'll be like 3 cosplayers that have something thrown together that looks really, really good.
Yeah, it's like there's
because cosplayers, that's just what they do.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's probably a good handful of cosplayers that already have their Captain Marvel put together from like the one picture we've gotten of Brie Larson on set in the Captain Marvel outfit. So.
Oh yeah.
Like, all right, okay, whatever. So anyway, Venom. There you go. It's a teaser. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a teaser. It's not an actual trailer. All at this point, that line between teaser and trailer is very blurred.
Yeah.
In actual trailers, we got a trailer for Jessica Jones Season 2, which drops in like 3 weeks-ish. So, But it gives us a much better idea of what the storyline for season 2 is, and it looks like we're going to be delving a lot more into how Jessica got her powers, as far as like the company and the accident that killed her family gave her powers. If anyone else was affected, that sort of thing. So I'm loving that. That we're going to get more into Jessica's backstory. So I am totally down for that. And how they're going to fit Kilgrave in there.
Yeah.
TBD.
Uh-huh. Yep.
No. TBD. So.
Yep.
But I'm excited. So I'm ready for season 2 to drop next month. I'm excited. And then in most amusing trailer to drop in the last week or so, last couple of weeks, last month or so probably. So we got a trailer for Deadpool 2, and it is fabulous! Exactly what you'd expect from Deadpool. It's not safe for work by any means. But it is exactly what you would expect. There's a lot of breaking the fourth wall. There's poking fun at himself. There's poking fun at everyone else.
It's the Deadpool we know and love.
It is the Deadpool we know and love. I'm so excited. May is going to be an amazing month for movies. I was gonna go sit my butt down for like Infinity War and just not get up until like Memorial Day weekend, and I think I'll be good.
Yeah, if they let you stay in the theater that long.
Yeah.
They're like,
I'm
we've
just
got,
gonna
ma'am,
camp right
we
here.
have to pop popcorn and clean off the sticky stuff. Could you like stuff? And you're like, no, I'm staying. That's what the sticky stuff's here for.
Yeah. It's like, someone go refill my 20-gallon soda and my 5 gallons of popcorn. I'm good.
Yep.
Just plenty of napkins. We'll be fine.
Extra butter on the popcorn.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, oh my goodness. Oh. It is Venom trailer aside, it is it is going to be a good year for comic book fans. If you're into superheroes and comic books, it is going to be a good year. So. All right. And moving on, in royal news, we've got some more details for the upcoming wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So the wedding is going to be at noon London time at St. George's Chapel. And after the ceremony at 1 o'clock, there will be a carriage procession from St. George's through Windsor, and then returning to Windsor Castle. So it's got a route, but it'll loop around from the chapel back to Windsor Castle. And then there will be a private reception hosted by Prince Charles, I think, for like everyone that's actually going to the ceremony. And then in the evening there will be like a wedding reception, like what we would think of as far as wedding receptions. Although that's still private, but there's a lot of with these royal weddings, like the guest list for the actual ceremony is very discerning. So there'll be a lot of people that will not get invited to the ceremony, but will get to go to that reception later in the evening, where it's less formal. But what pictures, if any, we'll get out of those, to be determined. They've yet to say if the wedding ceremony will be televised and or streamed. So we'll have to keep waiting. At the very least, I'll be on Twitter, refreshing, finding the right hashtag, and refreshing, and seeing, what kind of pictures the people lined up outside we'll be posting on the social medias. So hopefully they televise it, and or stream it of some sort, but we'll see. And And then, somewhat related, and I did not know this, so it's not been added to the show notes yet, but I will, is we now have a wedding date for Princess Eugene.
Cool.
So they will be getting married on the 12th of October, actually in the exact same church as Harry and Meghan. So
That's an easy date for me. That's my uncle's birthday.
yeah. So that is exciting. I love royal weddings. So much fun. All right, moving on to some Star Wars news that, depending on, I think, how depending on your opinion of these two people, David and Dan Benoff and Weiss, the guys who brought us the so amazing yet run the gamut of the feels television adaptation of Game of Thrones to HBO, are apparently signed on to write and produce a new series of Star Wars movies that are in no way related to the Skywalker saga or the trilogy that's being developed by Rian Johnson. So we're getting even more Star Wars helmed by even more people.
Mm-hmm. And we don't know time period, so it could be before, it could be after.
Yep. No. And at this point, we don't even know time frame as far as when they expect these movies to go into any sort of production or anything. Obviously, after Game of Thrones is done, which that's soon, so they'll be freed up by next year, so they can start on that as early as some point next year. But beyond that, according to StarWars.com, no release dates have been set for the new films, and there have thankfully been no sightings of White Walkers around Lucasfilm. So
I'd be more concerned about a White Walker dragon.
Yeah. Zombie dragon. So
I'm excited by this news, but I have to say, I definitely did not see this coming.
Yeah.
I didn't either. It was like, okay. Ooh, cool.
Yeah. So, what'll come of this? We don't know yet.
Anyone's guess.
Anyone's guess. So.
I mean, we've seen what they've done with the adaptation of the Game of Thrones books.
Yes.
And I think we're in pretty darn good hands.
Yeah. Word or rumors that George R.R. Martin will have any hand in it, so I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't know if we want George R.R. Martin in the Star Wars universe.
No.
I like him, but, he just has a tendency to
kill people?
Yeah. Him, Joss Whedon, and Moffat.
Yeah.
And nobody makes it out.
Yeah,
everyone you love dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. All right. Let's see. In Doctor Who news, Enemy of the World is getting a special edition DVD release, asterisk, only right now in the UK.
If they didn't release it in the US, just because. But yeah,
or at least make the digital copy available if you're not going to do a physical copy.
Yeah.
But I would like physical copy.
Yeah.
I know. I have a spot for it in my on my shelf over here.
Yeah.
So do I.
But it basically, I mean, it's the episodes, obviously, and then a bunch of special features.
Yeah, the remastered episodes, because it got restored in 2013 after the missing bits were found.
Yep.
So, and then there's going to be I guess kind of a documentary behind the scenes type feature with Toby Haddock to interview some of the cast and crew, including Fraser Hines.
Oh, cool.
And David Troughton. Let's see, an interview with Philip Morris, who, if you listen to Traveling the Vortex, his name gets dropped a lot.
Yes.
he's the king of finding
references to the
yeah.
Omni rumor.
Yeah. So there'll be that. There will be a tribute to Deborah Watling, and then audio commentary with folks like Fraser Hines, the makeup artist, and then the disc itself.
Some of the co-stars. Yeah.
And then the disc itself comes with a reversible cover.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Which is fitting, since Patrick Troughton played 2 different roles.
Yep.
Sorry, Alex keeps hitting with my microphone.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Salamander.
Yes, I hope we get this one. This one, when they announced that these had been found initially and everyone was downloading them, and this was the one I watched. I'm like, I think I like this one better than Web of Fear. I know that's sacrilege because everyone's like, Web of Fear is the better one. But Enemy of the World was so good.
Yeah.
And I want it on my DVD shelf. And the DVD that they released, the ones with all the special features and documentaries.
Yeah, exactly, all the extra stuff. Yeah.
That they've done for all the other Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who DVD releases. So I'm sure it'll get a U.S. release. They just don't have the release dates for it yet.
Yeah.
But we'll look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then our last bit of news is the, I guess, biggest chunk, courtesy of Disney. And as I was commenting before we started recording, I'm a bad Disney fan apparently, because 1, I did not know they did a D23 Expo in Japan, and 2, this is not the first one.
No. Well, you gotta find out new things sometime.
I guess so. So yeah. So as we lovingly call it, Disney Fandom Christmas. They apparently also do over in Japan.
Japanese people like Disney too, apparently.
Well, yes, they do. There's lots of there's more parks overseas than there are in the United States. So, yeah, they
There's
do
only 2
love
in the
mouse.
U.S.
Yes, they do love the mouse. Some of these are expounding on stuff we already knew that had been announced at D23 Expo in California last year. Some of it is completely new news. So, some of the stuff I'm most excited about is, of course, Marvel related. At Disneyland Paris, their Rock and Roller Coaster, which at the moment is the same theme as the one in Florida, which is Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, is getting rethemed to a Marvel roller coaster. So it'll have Iron Man and a bunch of the Avengers, and that's super exciting. So excited. And then they released some more concept art for the theming for Disney's Hotel New York, which is at Disneyland Paris, which is getting Marvel rethemed for Marvel. And that is supposed to refurb is supposed to be done by 2020. And then they are going to start bringing.
Is that the one that's supposed to? Is that the one that's supposed to be like a Tony Stark type?
I think so. It's a very modern hotel to begin with.
Okay.
So, but then they're making it. It's going to be Disney's Hotel in New York, the Art of Marvel. So.
Oh, cool.
And then they're gonna start bringing in Marvel characters into the park in Disneyland Paris starting in this summer. with characters like Captain America, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Black Widow. I need to go to Paris. And then, yeah. And then in Hong Kong, they already have a Iron Man attraction. But now they have announced that they are going to get an entire Marvel-themed area, including a second Marvel attraction set for Hong Kong Disneyland, which will include Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, cool.
And then the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction that we know is coming at Epcot, which we knew it was going to be a roller coaster of some sort. They have announced that it is going to be one of the world's longest enclosed coasters, which, considering the size of the building that is there, I can totally see it. Which, if you've ridden on Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith at the studios in Florida, it is also an enclosed roller coaster. It's not very long, but it is an enclosed coaster, so Disney knows how to do those already. That, and if you've ridden Space Mountain, obviously. Yeah, Disney knows how to do roller coasters inside. But they said it's going to feature a unique story currently being created by Walt Disney Imagineering, include a new innovative ride system that's guaranteed, and that is expected to be open in time for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World Resort, which is in 2021. Let's see here. They announced some more details for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, along with the Star Wars themed hotel that's going to be in Florida. They announced that, let's see here, they've been teasing that the whole thing's going to be completely immersive. So it'll be a luxury resort that will seamlessly tie into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So you could be, and they showed some concept art, including the Millennium Falcon, some life-size X-Wing fighters. So that's going to be very exciting, also very expensive, I'm sure. But if you want to live Star Wars, Disney is giving you the opportunity to live Star Wars. So, yes. Yeah, start saving your pennies, start digging in those couch cushions. And then, let's see
start
here.
saving your credits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right, really.
Yeah, cut back on the blue milk. So,
or go out and milk your own.
Yeah, or that too.
Yep.
And then Disney has announced that this year is going to be the year of Pixar at the Disney parks, because Pixar characters have been in the Disney parks from around the world for 20 years, which is pretty cool. So the Disney Pixar Toy Story Land opened at Shanghai last April. It's getting ready to open at Disney's Hollywood Studios this summer. Pixar Pier, which is the retheming they're doing over at California Adventure, is going to open in June. And that will include the Incredicoaster and a future attraction themed to Inside Out. And there will also be a new Incredibles float that will join the Paint the Night Parade, which is moving over to Disney's California Adventure this April, which that's pretty exciting because first of all, I love Paint the Night. It's probably my favorite nighttime parade. I saw it multiple times when we were at Disneyland several years ago because I love it so much. And yeah, the Pixar, especially the Cars float, is absolutely amazing. It is Mac, the semi-truck, and he's life-size, and he's amazing. And it's, oh my god, it's so good. So, over at Disney's Animal Kingdom, to continue with the Pixar love, there is a new show that will debut in April featuring Russell and Doug from Up, which is exciting. They released, I think, a bit more concept art for the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is currently going in where the Great Movie Ride used to be over at Disney Hollywood Studios. That will open in 2019. And then back over to Japan. They are going to be building an expansion at Tokyo Disney Sea, which I was talking about before we started recording. At this point, I want to start planning some sort of overseas Disney trip to one of the overseas parks, and I was leaning towards Tokyo Disney Sea, especially because Lou had just gone last year, and I know some other people that have gone and say Tokyo Disney Sea is absolutely one of the best, if not the best, Disney park on the entire planet. But with all the added Marvel stuff they're putting in Paris, it's like, maybe I need to go Paris first. We'll eventually do all of them. It's just which one do you go to first? And they're making it really hard to pick which one to go to first. But they are expanding Tokyo Disney Sea. It'll be the biggest, well, let's see. I don't know if it's going into Sea, but they're expanding Tokyo Disney Resort, and it'll be the biggest expansion since opening Tokyo Disney Sea. They're adding an attraction inspired by Big Hero 6 that is going into Tomorrowland at Tokyo Disneyland, where guests will get to ride with Baymax. They're adding an entirely new area in Fantasyland themed Beauty and the Beast, with an attraction set to the same IP. The Fantasyland expansion will also include the first full-scale live entertainment theater at Tokyo Disneyland, and Toontown will see a new design studio where guests can meet one-on-one with Mickey Mouse. And at Tokyo Disney Sea, guests will soon be able to experience a version of Soarin', which is a really cool attraction that they have in Florida and California. So, yeah, I guess it's a matter of which upgrades are going to be done first. Will probably determine which one I go to first.
Good call.
But, oh my goodness. Good stuff. Good stuff coming to a lot of the Disney parks, which is very exciting. So, I am all for it. Totally down. Shut up and take my money. My passport is ready. So,
all kinds of exciting stuff.
Yes. Well, all right. Well, that's it for news, and we don't have any feedback, so we can move.
We actually got through that pretty well.
Yeah.
Considering how much there was.
Yeah. So we can move on to this week's topic, which is the Librarians.
Yes. And holy cow, what a two-parter.
Just the entire season. The entire season has been.
Like, I don't feel like they've had necessarily any bad seasons, but I feel like this one they really stepped it up.
Yes.
And I don't know how exactly to describe it, but I really liked all of it.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And
even
I know
the twist with Nicole.
I know. Well, at first I thought, we wrapped up her
storyline.
Her storyline in the middle. Well, okay, we're just gonna have some one-off episodes and be good. I'm fine with that. And they had some really good ones in there.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And the whole mystery of who's going to tether with the library and how are they going to...
Yeah.
I'd
actually forgotten some of these stories and some of the plot, but until I actually went back because Holly had pointed me towards this podcast. And
the AfterBuzz.
The AfterBuzz with most of the time it's these gals that talk to librarians, and listening to them talk, it's like, okay, that's us. They are doing what we do. Fangirls,
yes, exactly.
Unite. Thank you very much. But Holly had sent me their episode from not the season finale, but the episode before the season finale. And then I went back and started listening to their episodes from the beginning of the season, and was listening through those, and I think I got as far as I think Town Called Feud, I think, as far as I got. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. Or oh yeah, I forgot that happened. I forgot that was a thing. So we did. We had reviewed the first 2 episodes because they were doing 2 episodes a week for like the first 3 weeks when the show came back. So we already covered and The Dark Secret and The Steal of Fortune already. So you can go back and listen to that episode, episode of the podcast if you want to hear us talk about those. So then we jump into the Christmas episode.
Yes.
And The Christmas Thief, which was directed by Noah Wiley. Which,
and we get that's the one. That's the one with Ezekiel, right?
Yes,
okay.
That's with Ezekiel's family. We finally meet.
I'm sitting here going, how does his mom not know what he does? Or all these things. It was just kind of not really a shock, but kind of I had to think about it, because like he's from this family of thieves, but this, his mom and his sisters are like, they just do petty theft, like shoplifting and stuff, where he's stealing fine artifacts from museums and things, and she's all like, and then she finds out that he's famous, and she's like, what? Our little Ezekiel? No.
Yeah.
Because they don't care what he steals, which is kind of a weird thing to be like, don't you know that he's a world-renowned criminal, and that's supposed to be a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of Thanksgiving, it's Thievesgiving.
Yes.
So
it was such a cute episode.
Yeah.
And the villain played by
Steven Weber.
Steven Weber. Oh, that was awesome.
So he plays Santa Claus's brother.
Yes.
So even though we did not get the Return of Santa,
I know, I was waiting for Bruce Campbell to make it.
So we didn't get to see Bruce Campbell again.
I was watching, the credits as they were rolling, like, well, maybe he makes the guest appearance and they're just keeping it real tight-lipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be in the end credits.
Yeah, brief cameo.
Nope. He appears, quote unquote, via a letter sent via Jenkins.
Yeah.
And Cassie giving Jake and Ezekiel those sweaters, it was just
so fun.
And the fact that they're supposed to be watching Santa's sleigh while Santa goes on vacation with Flynn and Baird.
Yes. And they were under strict instructions from Jenkins not to touch the sleigh.
Not to touch the sleigh.
So what happens? They touch the sleigh.
They touch the sleigh.
And who's the first one to instigate it? I'm thinking, no, it's Jake. Like, let me at that thing.
Yeah.
He's usually the more responsible one.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just like, Zeke, you're rubbing off on Jake.
Yeah. Although, in their defense, they only had to use the sleigh because Ezekiel's mom stole the glove for the magic
True.
Oh, gosh.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have had to touch the sleigh at all. So, but I love that they just got into this whole thing with the access to the magic door getting stolen and Ezekiel's mom stealing all this stuff and her finding out about him actually being a world famous thief and that magic is a thing and about the library and all this, and they get into all this trouble, and Jenkins has to get them out of it, and Jenkins doesn't rat them out.
No, he doesn't.
Oh. It's like, you get one MacGuffin, this is it.
Yep.
You screw up again, it's on you. Apparently Santa likes to party.
Yeah.
Apparently way more than Flynn and Baird do.
We gotta kind of remember that bar scene when he was channeling Odin.
Yes. I know, it's like Flynn and Baird knew, well, Baird at least knew what she was getting into. I don't know if Flynn was in that episode, but yeah, either way.
So, but yeah, it was good to finally get some Ezekiel like backstory.
Yes.
And learn more
That's
about.
been a long time in coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was I like the idea of a Christmas episode. They should make that a regular thing.
Yes.
Oh yes, I like the Christmas episodes.
Yes.
Yep, they do.
Yeah. And then the next episode is "And the Silver Screen," which was directed by Jonathan Frakes, written by Noah Wiley. So Noah was, for not appearing in the entire season, Noah was still a very busy dude.
Yes.
So, which I loved this one.
Yeah, this
one of my favorites.
Yeah. So it was such a fun, it's a storyline that we've seen similar stories in other shows where someone gets trapped into a movie. Which,
and usually it's a hard-boiled detective story, which this one was too.
Yeah, it's a noir detective story. And Eve is his, I guess, his secretary.
Yeah, or Girl Friday, or
Girl
the
Friday,
fatale,
love
or kind
interest.
of a mix.
Yeah, kind of all of the above.
Yeah. Which was rather fun. So.
I know. Well, then and Ezekiel are trying to follow them into the movies, and they end up in a western and a sci-fi one.
Yeah.
Yes.
They make sure to cover as many of your movie tropes as possible. So you've got the film noir detective movie, you get a western, and then you get a sci-fi.
Right, and a musical western.
Yes.
Nonetheless, to showcase someone's
Christian
singing skills. Yes.
Oh, I loved that. I'm like, okay, you can't have him in a cowboy movie, quote unquote, and not bring out the guitar. And so they're sitting around a campfire, and I'm just like, okay, here it comes, and they did not disappoint.
Yeah.
No, they did not. And even Flynn cannot seem to get a date night to not go awry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. But
so them being tethered to the library for eternity is sure going to be entertaining.
Yes, it is.
Yes. That is very true. And that one, I did not see the ending of that coming. I think I saw some of it. I thought for sure that maybe the woman that was helping Jenkins may have been like in on it, but it turns out that she wasn't.
I thought she was the one that was behind all of it, and no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm like, wow, librarians, you surprised me. Good for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh. And then the following episode is the Librarians and the Bleeding Crown, where we are introduced to Darrington Dare.
Prophecy, which, yeah.
Yes.
I know, and then it follows it for the rest of the season, and I liked how the character was portrayed. I wanted to punch him in the face every time he was on screen.
Oh, yes. Yep.
He's like,
a terrible person.
I was kind of waiting for Excalibur to be coming and going grr and charging.
Yeah.
Like, get him out of here.
Yeah.
I know, like his whole thing, there could only be one librarian. I'm just like, oh, poo on you. We're rewriting the rules.
Yeah,
Yes.
really. I mean,
Yes,
like...
this isn't Highlander. They aren't immortals.
Yeah.
There can only one. Come on.
There can be a team here. They've been a team quite well for the past 5 seasons.
4.
Yes.
4.
Okay,
seasons.
we're waiting on
hoping for 5. Yes.
Hopefully it'll be 5.
Yes.
We don't know yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've kind of seen how them going solo has worked, and they work better as a team.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too, and that's something that we'll discover, I think, in the following episode, or in one of the following episodes, once we learn more about the brothers that originally created, like, this whole there can only be one librarian type prophecy rule thing, is we discover that those brothers were they were so good at everything, both good at everything, that there really only could be one, unlike these guys where they each have their own thing that they're good at and they all complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, Darrington Dare, I mean, you could almost see that there's almost like a, you know, if Darrington and Flynn are anything to go on, there almost seems to be like a personality requirement for librarians. Except Darrington doesn't have, he's you know, just as like very doctor-ish. It's very, you know, but he's not as charming in an adorable kind of way like Flynn is.
Yes.
So, that's the
Because
thing.
kind of more...
Flynn's the cute, adorable know-it-all. Darrington is the cute yet annoying know-it-all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know how in Indiana Jones, you know, all the girls, you know, have a crush on him and want to flirt with him. Darrington Dare, and you know, he never rises to it or anything. Darrington Dare's the guy that he knows all the girls have a crush on him, and he exploits that.
Yeah.
Right.
Sort
kind
of
of
thing.
like Gilderoy Lockhart in
Yes!
the Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yes, I hadn't thought of it.
Good one. I like that.
I do too. I like that. Perfect.
Yep. Excuse me. So, although with that episode, for them to be able to stop Darrington's nemesis, that does bring up Jenkins' immortality, which will become important later. So they kind of plant that speed, like, oh, remember, Jenkins is immortal. That's gonna be important later. So
Ready the tissues.
yeah. So
Right.
yeah, but okay. And then we jump back into adventures involving Nicole with And the Graves of Time. Another one directed by Jonathan Frakes. So, and we kind of get kind of almost a, I don't want to say buddy adventure, because Eve and Nicole are not really buddies.
No.
More like a frenemy adventure.
Yeah, it's kind of a frenemy
they're
adventure.
definitely rivals.
Yeah. Because Nicole's old graves keep getting raided, because both she and these Russians, of course, are trying to find this artifact that is capable of killing an immortal. And Jenkins is convinced that Nicole wants to get it to kill him, because he's the one that imprisoned her in the library for all those centuries.
Not unreasonable.
Yes. But Nicole, at the same time, is trying to convince Eve and Flynn that that's not why she's trying to get this artifact, that she's wanting to use it to kill someone else. Turns out that's Rasputin.
And then I start singing the song in my head.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Then we all break out our copies of Anastasia.
Have you heard it? Never mind. Although I did like their interpretation of Rasputin as a, you know, the the way that they designed him and the character and costuming. So I don't know. I just like the look of him in modern day, you know, because he was this immortal guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, and then at the same time, I'm like, oh man, I would have liked a whole episode of the Librarians around him, just because, I don't know, I'm kind of fascinated by that part of history with the Romanovs and all that stuff. So I'm like, that would have been cool to have an artifact be there. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do it later. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows? But so they end up stopping Rasputin, and but in the process, Jenkins gets or Nicole ends up getting killed, quote, killed here, 'cause she's supposed to be immortal. And Jenkins ends up sacrificing his immortality to save Nicole after he realizes, oh, she wasn't that bad. She was just trying to stop Rasputin.
And the whole time we're all like, don't do it. It's not worth it. We can just have a nice little sad episode where someone dies. Oh, sadness. But Jenkins, don't. Oh, you did it. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, no, don't do the thing. Oh, he's doing the thing. Which will come back, bite him in the butt.
Yes. Although I do like all the jokes that come of it afterward. Like, he has to buy groceries now.
And he gets hungry.
And he gets hungry.
So, which the gals on the podcast did bring up a good comment with that. Like, you know, Jenkins at one point was not immortal. Is like, has he been immortal so long that he's forgotten what it's like to be hungry?
I just assume so.
Like, I can understand, you know, not knowing what a grocery store is like in modern times, but how do you forget what being hungry is like?
Well, you know, being alive for that long and not having to eat and do all these things.
I guess.
You forget. I imagine he would forget and be like, oh, now I remember how this goes. I don't like it.
Yeah. I guess so. So, and then Flynn takes off.
Yeah.
Or we think Flynn takes off. I'm doing air quotes here. Flynn leaves the library, so we don't know that at the time. We just think Flynn is being Flynn and taking off again because they do these things because Noah Wyle has got other things to do, apparently.
Yep. Although he has been in more and more episodes as the seasons have gone on, so there is that.
Yeah.
But it's like, at the time, I was like, why is Flynn leaving? Doesn't he, why do we care that there can, quote unquote, only be one librarian?
Yeah.
Because you guys have already been through this. We talked about this season 1. Yeah. There doesn't need to be just one. I don't know.
Well, it was not, I don't think it was necessarily that, but they'd made us look, they made it look like to us that Flynn was having reservations of becoming immortal and what that would mean.
Well, yeah, but it eventually turned into, you know, we have to pick one, and the other 3 are like, well, you know, what do I want from my life? Or do I want to just be a librarian for the rest of my life?
That sort of.
Am I going to quit or that kind of thing? But we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get that. So to ignore how ticked off she is at Flynn for supposedly leaving again, Baird and the librarians take off for the episode and the Disenchanted Forest.
Oh, I loved this one.
The librarians go to team building camp.
Yes. And Cassie's so excited to go to summer camp because she's never been. And she's got all these ideas of what it's supposed to be like.
Which, if she asked me, I'd tell her it's not all that cracked up to be. I did several summer camps, and I hated every single moment of it. So
I've never been.
You cannot pay me enough to do another summer camp. No. So.
I feel like we've had this discussion before, how much you don't like camping.
Well, I don't like camping in general. Summer camp is a completely different animal for reasons that I will not get into here because they are personal. But let's just say that the company that one may keep at summer camp factors a lot into it as well.
And sometimes it's not of your own choosing.
Exactly.
That's true, too.
Exactly. So that makes a big difference.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, but we go to like this team building camp for like corporate executives or whatever.
And it's owned by a walking set of teeth. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Holy cow, that guy.
Yes. Yep. And then, lo and behold, we get the return of Dosa.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, oh, you guys are back.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? But for once, they weren't the problem.
No.
Well, they actually helped.
Yes.
Shocking as that is.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, broken clocks twice a day and all that.
Yes.
That's true.
That is very true. So, but there's this camp, and campers keep going missing. So the librarians have got to figure out where these people are going. Stone ends up falling for one of the camp counselors.
Of course.
Yep.
Who's actually turns out to be actually a reporter who was fired from her job being a reporter for writing about the library because people thought she was just nuts.
Yep. And Stone was about ready to spill the beans on everything.
Yeah. Which he kind of does at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But, but it turns out that the people missing, it was not nefarious. It was the forest kidnapping people trying to find someone for the language of the trees. Which Stone,
I speak for the trees.
Yeah, as I've seen referenced in a lot of places, Stone gets to become the Lorax for a little bit. So to preserve the grandfather tree, because this forest, is like the epicenter of everything, and if this forest gets destroyed because of deforestation, like it'll be the end of everything essentially.
And I was worried because I thought he was going to be a goner and
he'll be stuck a tree forever.
Down to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, well, we're not picking him then.
Yeah. Like, no, it was just temporary. They just needed him to convey the message, and then they were good.
Yeah.
Thank heavens it was thought, oh no, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Don't leave the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then actually the Dosa actually helps because they are given the kind of the seed that needs protecting. So if anything does happen to the rest of the trees, they have this golden seed that can re-kickstart everything, and then Dosa takes that to protect it. So thank you, Dosa, for actually being helpful for once.
Yay!
Who knew?
I guess it took one season after them being the bad guys, basically, for them to figure out, oh, we can actually be helpful. Like, yes, you can. Good job, guys.
Yay.
Have a cookie.
Yeah. Go take a 5-minute break. Let's see. And the next episode is a Cassie-centric episode, and the Hidden Sanctuary. Once again, directed by Noah Wiley. Again, apparently after a mission in Ecuador goes badly, Cassie decides that she needs to take a sabbatical. So she goes to Havenport, Ohio, the safest city in the United States, which has gone 10,000 days without any sort of accident ever. Not even a paper cut.
That's not creepy at all.
No, not at all.
Nope.
So.
And then her getting a job at the library.
Yes.
Yep.
But as an actual librarian, like
right.
like what Chrissy does.
Yeah, except I don't check out books so much. But
yeah,
that's neither here nor there. I take it that Havenport wasn't too big on technology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they did it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Which was fine and a very Cassie thing to do.
Yes.
But I did like that she did like had like the science fair sort of program. That she got that going. I'm like, oh yes, that's totally her.
Yeah.
But of course, there's something rotten afoot, something going on.
Yeah, because 10,000 days without any sort of accident ever.
Yeah, like not even like people walking out into the road and no one getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
Because
there's no stop signs. There's no traffic lights.
There's no fire department. There's no hospital.
Yeah.
And then like when the magic starts breaking down and someone does get hurt, and they're like, "Hospital, what's that?"
So it turns out it was a fairy.
Yeah.
But this fairy's no Tinkerbell.
This boy wished that there was a place where no one would get hurt, and he becomes the mayor 30 some odd years later, and then the fairy gets let out, and she is mad, and she's gonna take over everything and hurt everybody, but then they calm her down, and she's like, okay, I think I'll leave me alone. That's the short version.
She got captured.
Yeah.
And since she got recaptured, she had to grant the captor a wish. Kind of like, apparently fairies are kind of like genies, in a way.
Yeah, they kind of glossed over that a little bit, but that's all right.
Yeah, a little bit. So she has to grant her new captor a wish, and he wishes that she could feel. She could feel fear or anger. Yeah, she was already angry. I think fear is what it was.
Yeah. That's right.
And then she's able to sympathize more with the townsfolk. So, and Cassie realizes that being perfectly safe all the time, not all it's cracked up to be.
No, you have to know how to take care of yourself and be careful and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it's better that way, because then you know what it when you have times when you're not safe, you know what it's like to be safe, and you appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh, let's see. And then after that, episode 9, and a town called Feud.
Oh, I love this one.
This is a good
so much. Okay, so I don't know. Do any of you have the iTunes season pass at all for Librarians, or do you just watch it on TV?
I watch it on TV, but then I also have I got the Amazon Prime version, and it does have the blogs behind.
Okay. Yeah. The behind the scenes things. Okay. Because the one for this one mentions something, and I think this is why this one turned out so good in my view. Is okay, so it's centered on the Civil War, and it's these two brothers. One was on the Union side, one was on the Confederacy, and there's according to the town museum curator lady, who's really obsessed with this story. These two brothers hated each other so much they drew a line down the town, and their one side was the South and one side was the North, and they reenact the revenge and the feud for years and years. But then they find out that the brothers actually made up on the field of battle, and they died rather than fight each other. And there's a moment when Ezekiel says, he hears the story, is like, for years you said that these brothers fought and hated each other, but you never told about how they reconciled. That's actually a better story.
Yeah, really.
And what I think was so interesting about this, because I don't know how it is in other countries, if they would talk about the American Civil War or not, but every history book or history class I've sat through on the Civil War, they kind of gloss over the fact that there were people in the Civil War who were on both sides that were family members, brothers, friends, sisters, parents, children, like there were a lot of people who were torn on this, and it was like you talk about a nation divided. It was literally, people didn't know which side they wanted to be on for a long time, and then it culminated in a war. I mean, this happened even before the war started. And sorry, kid grabbing the thing. And so they don't really focus on the people and how, and they just are like they focus on the political situation, which that is an interesting topic and one that needs to be talked about. But I don't know. It's just, I loved how they focused on so much the causes for the war, that it was slavery or anything like that, even though that's an important thing, but that stuff gets talked about so much. It's like, these are real people who really struggled with this. And as a nation, like, family struggled with it. The whole country struggled with it. And family members fought to the point that they were on different sides of the conflict. And what I loved in the writer vlog was that they mentioned that the writer of this episode was Tom McRae, who has written for Doctor Who, and he's British. So it's not an American writing about this. It's a Brit who apparently finds this aspect of the Civil War interesting. And then Ezekiel is the one. He's Australian. He's like, that's a more interesting story that the two brothers made up during the battle. And I'm like, it kind of puts a more humanizing aspect to the story, rather than focus on our disagreements. Focus on, instead of focusing on disagreements, they're like, oh yeah, we're brothers. Our mom wanted us to keep this locket and hope we would make up and love each other again. And just all this stuff, and then the whole town reconciles, and it's just a great story, and I loved it so much. I was like, okay, I need to talk about this on the podcast because I need to gush about this episode because it was so. I loved it. Yes. I loved it so much, you guys. I can't even. I don't know. Maybe it's just me noticing just how, like, people like today fighting about various and sundry things, and I'm like, you know what? I wish we could all just realize that we could all be friends. Yeah. Maybe not, necessarily sing Kumbaya, but whatever our disagreements are and whatever we don't see eye to eye on, at least be kind to each other, civil, and hug it out if we have to. Yeah. Anyway, I had a lot of feelings about that one. It was such a good one.
Yeah. Well, this was another one that I thought I knew where the story was going. And got to the end and it resolved itself. I'm like, I was way off.
And that happens. It's happened quite a bit this season.
Yeah. I mean, not that I'm complaining. It's good. Keeping me on my toes. But still, it's like...
For sure.
Doesn't you think we're going to be down to one librarian training, and it's like, oh, good. Yeah. Phew.
Well, and this is when we, this feud between, these two brothers during the Civil War, it parallels what's happening within the Librarians, where they're starting to take Darrington's viewpoint that there really should only be one librarian, and they're starting to snipe at each other and be like, no, I should be it, or no, I should be it. And after this experience, because with them resolving the unrest with these ghosts, it causes them to see that the Darrington's viewpoint is not right, and they reject the idea that there should only be one, or at least Ezekiel and Stone do that, but then Cassie and Jenkins, who stay back at the library, kind of flip, and they think that Darrington was right because they find these letters detailing more what happened to these two librarians and how their egos got in the way and then ended up fighting, and it almost destroyed the library and all these sorts of things. So
the Cassie, put the scroll away, but don't open said scroll.
Yeah.
What did she do? Yeah. Open the scroll.
Way to go, Cassie.
You know, it's like always in that one action-adventure movie. You're stuck on a ledge. Don't look down.
Yeah.
Too late, I already did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
No. And then the next episode probably was one of the funniest of the entire season. Directed by Lindy, who plays Cassandra.
Yes.
And some dude named Jeff.
At first, I wasn't sure I was going to like it as much as I ended up liking it. I watched it twice. It was so much fun.
Yeah. So.
I mean, talk about your Jenkins-centric episode.
And definitely not a situation where we would think to find Jenkins. You know, he's this dignified. He was a knight of the Round Table, and he's been taking care of the library for so many years. And then he ends up swapping places with some dude named Jeff.
Yeah, who's
this slacker who he can't. He can't hold down doesn't have a great job. He lives with his mom. He plays D&D with his friends, and they're all kind of losers too. And it's just like
they're part of a tech squad.
The Geek Squad or whatever it is.
Yeah. This was the entire time. It's just it was so entertaining. How funny this is, because I mean, John Larroquette is just amazing as Jenkins, but he's very, like he's like, I'm the keeper here, very put together, esoteric, just prim and proper Jenkins, and then he ends up for a day living the life of this nerd.
Yeah.
And
Jeff, and it's surprising how slow the other librarians are on the uptake.
Yeah.
When Jeff is being Jenkins, and he's, part of me kind of wishes they had John Larroquette do that a little more, so we could see it from the librarian's point of view. But also, it was funny to see this schlub kind of try to be Jenkins.
Yeah. Well, and what's
you think they would have put two and two together when he was starting to hit on Cassie and
Eve.
Hello,
it should have been
Jenkins.
Although, it kind of was, because I think at that point Cassie was like, okay, something's up here. What's going on?
But it's funny, because the whole reason that Jenkins and Jeff switch is because Jeff hates his life, and he knows about Jenkins and the library because of the news from that reporter from the camp episode. So
it all ties together.
Yes, it does. So he uses this magic book and doesn't realize that the book will unleash all evil on Earth in the process. So but then they get to
and then the rest of Jeff's D&D crew gets involved, which
was
awesome.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
And like when the girl when she realizes that the one puzzle is basically DDR or whatever generic title she gave, and they're dancing across the floor, and then Jenkins has to do it.
And I love the fact that Jenkins is trying to figure out how to get back into the library and his own, so he's going to need their help. And so he tells them, they're like, dude, what's wrong with you? What's going on? He's like, your friend Jeff switched bodies with me. I'm really Jenkins. I need to get into the library, blah, 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 blah. And they just look at him and go, okay, that makes total sense. Come on, let's go.
Well, and then we get an Indiana Jones. It's like, wait a minute, you haven't seen that one? It's like, wait a minute.
Well, they all thought he was acting weird, and then he explained it to them, and they're like, yeah, that makes way more sense than anything else.
Not based at all.
And he makes some honorary librarians.
Yes.
I know.
Because they can't be actual
yay!
librarians. And now
You guys need to come back for an
Yeah.
episode.
And now,
Now
they have a
season 5.
yeah.
They need to come back.
yeah.
It's kind of like Doctor Who.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was their launcher episode. Now they need to have closing time at some point.
Yes.
Yes.
and now Jenkins is going to play D&D with them.
Yeah.
And he brings the pizza. And
Yeah. The Werther's originals for Jeff's mom.
Yes. And the interaction between Jeff's mom and Jenkins as Jeff was just
Yeah.
that was hilarious.
And you feel bad for her too. He's like, she's like, she's asking him for all this help, and he's like, "Don't you have a husband or something?" And she said, and he finds out that Jeff's dad, her husband, died from cancer, and she's been trying to be mother and father and everything, and try to keep life together for her and Jeff. And Jenkins is like, oh, because Jenkins has been isolated. For the most part, most of his interactions have been with whoever the librarian is, and the guardian, and that's it. So now that he's not immortal anymore and actually getting outside, he's encountering other humans, and realizes that there are people with everyday lives that may seem mundane, but they all have their thing. They have their things that make them happy. They have their things that make them sad. There are things that,
There's things that are going on in their lives that they have no control over.
Exactly.
That they have to still deal with.
Exactly. So it's a big wake-up call for Jenkins. So, to realize that, welcome to the human race.
Pretty much, yeah.
Essentially. So.
This was such a fun episode.
Yeah. Okay, and then the penultimate episode, officially the Librarians and the Trial of One, or as it's been nicknamed, the Librarians' Hunger Games.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Of course, there's magic involved because librarians.
Well, yes. We would not have it any other way.
No,
so
it's the librarians. Well, Nicole comes back. No, that's at the end.
Yeah, that's at the end. No,
okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, the
Jenkins
bells
gets taken over by the library, and the library says you have to face your fears and duel to the death.
Yes,
it's like we do.
Yeah,
and you gotta put these rings on.
And it is it's a roller coaster. I'm glad they did the Jeff episode before this, because it's like we need a breather, we need a happy little fun thing before we go into this death, destruction, and doom.
Yeah,
because after seeing this one, I went immediately and hopped back and watched the guy and the dude.
It's like, Jeff, come back.
Yeah,
I need my happy time again.
Yeah. Pretty much. So I told Holly that, because I ended up falling behind on the episodes and did not watch this one till a couple of days before the season finale. And I'm kind of glad that I fell behind, because if I had to wait a week after this, I would have been pissed.
Yeah.
I would have been really pissed.
Happy
I was saying,
delayed experience.
I wish that was a 2-hour thing.
Yeah. Because trust me, after that one happened, I quick logged on to the next day. When they're going to drop the digital download, I'm just like, maybe I got lucky and they accidentally dropped the season finale, so I can.
Maybe they shipped the DVDs early.
Yeah.
No such luck.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, this was. I don't know how to describe this one. I mean, this was just everything that we don't want for these characters.
Yes.
to happen. You know, for they
to see Cassie have that breakdown.
Yeah, to see her
I
being bullied, to see Ezekiel end up in jail because he got caught stealing something, Stone, you know, being tormented by the tattoos that he got the previous season.
Which I forgot about those.
Yeah.
Until they brought it back up again. It's like, oh yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah. And Baird too, you know, her biggest nightmare is the librarians being in trouble and her not being able to do anything about it.
Which basically nightmare come true.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, she ends up figuring out how to save them, but it ends up costing Jenkins in the process.
I watched that episode and I was thinking, oh, that's why they gave us a funny Jenkins episode last time. Because
you're going to take our hearts and throw them on the floor and step on them.
Yeah, is so emotionally attached and crying over Excalibur's death in season 1. This one took the...
Yeah. And Jenkins' death causing all of the librarians to quit and resign from the library, leaving Eve alone.
And her not knowing where in the heck Flynn...
Yeah, she doesn't know where Flynn is and how to get a hold of him. And, you know, she's lost. She's absolutely lost, which really is her worst nightmare come true, is, you know, everything that she knows and loves has just completely gone in shatters. And then here comes Nicole.
Yeah.
Strutting in like she's River freaking Song.
Exactly.
But not nearly as pleasant to see.
You.
Yes. And we find out that this whole thing was one big convoluted plan by Nicole. And thankfully,
it's like, oh, you're still here.
At least thankfully in her villain monologue, glad that's a thing.
Speech of evil.
The evil speech of evil, that we find out that no, Flynn did not take apt, so we at least have got that going for us. But because she is broke, her whole plan was to break the belief in the library, causing the library to no longer exist. Kind of like fairies.
This is why we
in
can't
Hook.
have nice things.
Yeah. It's kind of like fairies, you know. It's like, I do believe in the library. I do.
I do. Clap your hands if you believe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm over here clapping my hands.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, Charlene, Judson, that would be a good time to show up.
Yeah. No, nobody's showing up, and if anything, the library literally fades from existence. Leaving Baird in this weird Pleasantville fallouts
meshed with North Korea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Type of existence. Which then seems into the season finale and the Echoes of Memory, where they're in this alternate world where everything is run by the company.
And the head of the company is
Nicole.
Yes, her.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
If you're not raising your hand, you lie.
Yep.
Once again, I think I might die from that surprise.
Yeah. Oh, the shock.
Yeah. I love though that when Baird, you know, manages to track down, you know, Cassie and Stone and Ezekiel, you know, that she's able to get through to, well, 2 out of 3 fairly easily.
Yeah. Jake and Cassie were the easy sells.
Yeah, which, I mean,
Zeke on the other hand, ooh.
Yeah.
Well, see, he had a TV show. So
yes, he did.
That would have been a little more
he had the
challenging.
He had the notoriety that Ezekiel Jones loves anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So he loves being a thief. He loves more the fact that he's well known in this case, in the real world because of being a thief, but he loves the fact that he's just, well known. And then Eve gets taken by the company and taken to, essentially the asylum and is reunited with Flynn. And Flynn, as many times as he gets, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Therapy.
I mean, he reminded me so much of a few doctors in this one.
Yes.
Just being able to escape and then talking to Eve and then quick having to flee so he doesn't get caught by the guards or Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah, but those two reuniting and
that was just so pretty.
Yeah, and talking and then you can tell that Dean is a showrunner and we've seen this with since the library started. There's definitely the Doctor Who influence.
Oh,
but then with this,
just
with
especially
Eve,
with one of the themes that almost kind of reminds you of Matt Smith, the theme, I am the Doctor.
Yeah. But then with the adding to this one with Eve's mind palace. It's like, hello, Sherlock.
Yes. Yep.
I understood that reference.
Yep. Because my ears perked up as soon as I heard Mind Palace. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
I know where you guys got that.
Yeah, we're sticking with the BBC here.
Yep.
It's like, Dean, are you really Stephen Moffat in disguise?
It's his pseudonym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
or have you and Moffat sat down and had a meeting that we don't know about?
Yeah. Really. Possibly. Well, what episode was it? I'd have to go back through the chat to find out. But one episode, at some point, and it was Cassie, I think, that said Alonzi.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
So I forget what episode that was, though.
It could have been the one when she was in the town.
I don't think
about the accident.
So. Because I think it was them getting ready to go through the door, I think, somewhere. Maybe,
that's right. Yes. Yes.
So, it may have been the camp episode, maybe?
That could be. It was one of those.
Yeah. It was one where the librarians are all together. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Cassie says Alonzi, and I almost didn't catch it. I'm like, wait a minute!
I know what that means. Yeah. I know what that is. I know what that is.
And some of the music was very Doctor Who-ish, too, especially in the season finale.
Mm-hmm.
An episode before, so it was very reminiscent of, especially the Matt Smith era.
Yes.
Doctor Who music. So I'm like, okay, I'm totally down with this.
Yep.
I mean, I love the show already, but then you get the Doctor Who influence in there even more, and I'm like, okay, yes, please. But anyway, back to the finale episode. Nicole is. She thinks that she has essentially killed the librarian's faith in the library, and therefore it'll never come back. But, evil being evil, villains being what they are, they always underestimate the heroes and overestimate their own abilities. Their ego is always way too big.
Mm-hmm. And then misinterpreting what they think of someone in actuality when it's not, because she said that she thought Flynn was getting too, cocky or whatever. I can't remember exactly how she said it, but she was kind of doing this to take him down a peg.
Yeah. Well, is she? She got flung back in time, and has had all of this time to. Once she realized that Flynn was not coming back to rescue her, she got bitter, she got angry, and it had hundreds of years to fester and to grow and to just, for her to get so bitter and angry at Flynn, at the library, at the institution and everything, that she completely forgot what it was like to love the library and what it stands for.
Yeah.
And that's where that's where the flaw in her plan was, because Eve and the rest of the librarians love the library so much, even with all of the hardships, the death of Jenkins, them realizing that, things like romantic necessarily get the recognition that they want for the things that they do, that they, how many times they've saved the world and will never get thanked for it or recognized for it, that they have not become bitter, that they still get up and go, do their job every single day to protect the library and magic and all of these things. And that's ultimately where Nicole fails. And that's how they manage to bring the library back. But then we have to get all wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Yep.
On top of it.
And then Flynn saying to Nicole, "Hey, I wanted to come back to save you, but I was too scared to do it." And
he didn't
losing her, not being able to protect her.
Yeah, well, it's not that he didn't want to go back and save her. He didn't know she was alive. He legitimately thought that she had died in that explosion. So, some of that is not his fault, genuinely not his fault.
Right.
But she's too bitter to see that. But thanks to the magic toaster.
Yay, magic toaster!
We get to go back in time, not necessarily to save Nicole and bring her back from the past, but to not stop her from becoming immortal, but to make sure that she does what she already did, but for the good of the library.
Right, with
instead
a little
of
more
working
hope
against
involved.
it. Yeah. So everything still, I guess, essentially still happens, but for good instead. And that kind of resets everything, and it takes us back to the beginning of the season, where they're getting ready to do the practice ceremony, the run through for the tethering, and Jenkins is alive. Thank goodness.
I was screaming and jumping up and down so hard.
I know. It's like, you're still here.
Yeah.
And immortal.
And he's still immortal, and everybody's fine.
The Ninth Doctor, everybody lives.
Yes.
Yep.
Pretty
Although,
much.
I am a little sad that it was basically erased this whole season, that they don't remember what happened.
Well, Flynn does, and they didn't explicitly say it, but I think Eve does too. Just the librarians and Jenkins do not.
It makes me sad because Jeff.
Yeah.
Jenkins remembers Jeff, and so no more D&D nights.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you never know. If we get a season 5, they might. We could bring that back and have our closing time.
Yes, I'm like, please.
Possibly. Yeah. But so then, instead of waiting for the equinox to do the tethering, they decide to do the tethering right there and then. So I was kind of right.
Ready to poo-poo the It's not the equinox.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be at the equinox. The equinox doesn't actually do anything as far as the tethering. It was just tradition.
That was deadline. Yeah.
I'm just like, Jenkins, you should be happy.
They're going through with
Flynn
it.
isn't getting cold feet. He wants to do it.
Yeah.
Do
it now.
Before he changes his mind again.
Yeah, really.
Get it done and get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So yeah. So Eve, Flynn, tether to each other and the library, so they will now be immortal, and everybody lives happily ever after. And at this point, the Librarians has not been renewed, but it has not been canceled either. So we're in limbo.
Fans, please.
Yeah, tweet or whatever to TNT. Tell them how much you love this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and they do have. Is the survey still open? It's still going on.
I tried to resend a different link I had found for the survey, so I don't know if the survey's closed or not.
Because
I filled out a survey.
Yeah, I did too. There was a survey that you could talk about, like it asked about Librarians specifically, and it said like, do you like the show? What do you like about it? Different things. And so I think if you haven't taken the survey, and we'll try to find a link that works to put it in the notes, do that. And if you want to see more Librarians, and I think that the top brass, the people in charge of renewing these things. So if they get enough positive feedback, we might get another season.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if not, I mean, we've had 4 seasons, so
yes.
Which is a decent run, and the way they tied up.
Just hope we get some more.
I want more.
Yes.
Oliver Twist, I'd like some more, please, sir.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, and we say this every season, that we've covered the Librarians since the beginning. Is it's such a good show. It's so, it's not as well known as something like Doctor Who or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or The Walking Dead or something like that. But it's got a steady enough following that we've gotten 4 seasons of it.
And it's family friendly.
Yes. That's the thing too. Is it's extremely family friendly.
It seems like there's less and less of that as time goes on, and I'm just like,
Because I even put that in my comments. It's just like, we're getting away from the family friendly. There are people who are looking for that family friendly escape. Not the gritty, edgy escape. Some of us are looking for the let's get our mind off our worries, one less thing to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't necessarily have to have kids to appreciate family friendly.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I kind of am a little more tuned into that now that I have a child. But even before Alex was born, even before I was married, I was like, it's something different because everybody feels like they have to be, push the envelope, edgy and grim dark, and it's like that has a place, but also sweet and hopeful and happy does as well. And I'll mention this because I've been going through and rewatching Doctor Who, the new Who from the beginning. Just because I'm like, I haven't done this in a while, and I kind of want to rewatch some of these older episodes. And I do see kind of a shift from, I mean, it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows in the beginning, but I kind of see where it's gotten a lot darker and a little more serious from more of the lighter stuff. And the lighter stuff is becoming less and less. So I'm like, I kind of miss some of that. So I don't know. Librarians helps fill that gap. I wish more shows would follow that example. Because it's fun. I mean, it's not, clean doesn't have to mean, it's boring or whatever. Because we've sat here like, we love this episode and we love this. We thought it was funny or, we enjoyed it. And they don't shy away from hard topics. I mean, the Civil War episode that had some dark moments, but it was still light and hopeful and
exactly
good. Anyway, it was a great season, and I hope we get more.
Yes.
Yeah. I you know, like, even as Dean said, because he and Christopher, Christian, were on the AfterBuzz before the season finale. And Dean even said, you know, it's like we don't at the time, and we still don't. It's like, oh, if we're gonna come back for another season, but if we don't, they're happy with the way the season ended. It's a good series finale, kind of like Once Upon a Time. But unlike
this one, we want more.
Yeah, I would say unlike Once Upon a Time, I still think that there's more story to tell.
Oh yes. There's more. Dean even kind of teased if they do get a season 5 that there may be the return of Stumpy.
Yeah.
Stumpy.
Yeah. And there's other, you know, like historical and you know, legendary type characters that they would like to you know, explore, you know, like Greek mythology and things like that. So and I think there's still more we could explore with the characters.
Oh yeah. Well, and even too with the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much they could do with this. Still, I mean, they have done quite a bit, and there's more they could do. So
yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And Christian was just like, for season 5, he'd love to see the chupacabra that they've always been talking about.
Yeah.
That's making the jerky.
Do
Send him on an adventure with the guys. You know,
do it.
Eve, I could just kind of see, you know, Eve's, even though she's immortal, maybe she's got laid up with an injury or something and can't go. And hey, Chupacabra's going to be your guardian.
or she's diverted on another mission, and they get something else, and they're like, okay, you guys go this way, you guys go that way.
Yep. We'll have to wait and see. Believe us, the minute we know, one way or the other, we will let you guys know.
If you hear screaming, loud wahoos from certain vicinities,
yes.
Yep.
And if you hear cursing of well, it won't be Dean's fault, of TNT.
We'll say TNT. Yeah. You'll know about it, and you'll know about it if you follow us on our Facebook page, because that's where we'll be posting the news once we hear about it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so check that out, which you can do by going to our website, the5ishfangirls.com. You can also send us feedback from that website, and you can also send us feedback through our email address, which is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where you will see that news, as I mentioned just seconds ago. And also follow us on, or you can download us on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play. And also listen to us on iTunes, I said that, and on YouTube. And if you want to help support the podcast, you can become a patron on Patreon, or support us through our Amazon store, or buy a t-shirt from us from our shop, which, again, all at our website. So that's how I did the segue. I didn't know if we were all done, but I was like, it was wide open for me, and I was like, I gotta pick this up. So anyway, we love all our listeners. We love the librarians, and we like to chat with our listeners about the librarians and anything else that we may talk about.
Yep. So.
Or if there's anything that you think we missed from this discussion, please let us know.
Yes.
We'd be happy to more.
Yes, come squee with us, because there was a lot that we would like to squee about. I'll probably rewatch this season and be like, oh, I should have talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like the totally impractical outfit that Cassie was wearing when they had to go into their fight to the death.
Yep.
Oh dear.
Like
Poor Cassie.
Yeah. She wore shorts when they went to camp. Granted, it was with tights, but she was wearing shorts. Unlike a mini skirt, where it's a fight to the death, and she's wearing a mini skirt. Like, really?
Well,
anyway.
it's a Cassie thing to do.
I know it is.
It fits with the character.
Yeah. I know.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, I've got kind of a grumpy boy here. He's been grumpy this whole time.
Yeah. All right.
If sorry, listeners, Alex has been like, I want to touch the microphone. So if you heard any weird pops, that was probably him.
Yeah.
I want to tell you
I tried to mute it,
about
but
Jenkins too.
Yeah.
Yes. He's like, Jenkins, come back.
Yeah. Jenkins did
But
come
she did.
back.
He did.
That's
We're
nice thing
good.
about it. We're good.
All is well.
It's all good. All was well. It's like Harry Potter. All was well. All right. Well, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Lauren from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. You're nice and cute and completely crazy. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You have been listening to the 5-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by their respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.